Greetings guys, girls, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. I hope that you are well and I hope that you are fighting because there is a lot to be fighting for. So something that has caused quite a lot of conversation recently that I'm sure we are all very well aware of is the release of the trailer for the live action remake of The Little Mermaid. And the reason it has caused such a stir is because the actress who is going to be portraying Ariel is Halle Bailey, who is a black woman. So obviously, all the racists have come out and are absolutely outraged by the fact that a mermaid is going to be black. And I wanted to sit down and I wanted to make a video about this because a few people have been asking me to talk about it. And Little Mermaid is something that is very personal to me. It's very close to my heart. I am actually named after the Little Mermaid. My middle name is Ariel, after the Little Mermaid. There is a whole story that goes with that. But yeah, so I grew up a lot with the Little Mermaid and with knowing that I was named after her, and I live on an island, obviously. So I spent a lot of my life in the ocean, in water. I did like competitive swimming. I spent a lot of my childhood wanting to be a mermaid and pretending that I was a mermaid. And it was a very core part of who I was. And, you know, I've grown with that and I still absolutely hold so much adoration for the ocean and for the Little Mermaid. I don't understand the big kerfuffle that's been going on. I don't know how people can sit here and be so pissed and so mad that this cartoon they grew up with from what, like 25 years ago is casting a black actress to play a mermaid. Like, calm down. The story is the same, okay? I'm gonna be talking about the main arguments that have come out of this for the people who think that they're making a point about being upset about this. And the number one talking point that people seem to bring up is hypocrisy. A lot of the people who are mad about this are calling it blackwashing and are just like super upset that this white representation is being taken away.
As the anger about whitewashing increases, so in equal proportion does the demand for what we must in the reverse call blackwashing.
And there are people who are like genuinely fuming because they think this is like super hypocritical because, you know, we kick up a fuss if a character of color is played by a white person. So why are we celebrating that a white character is played by a black person? And a lot of the time, all of the time, these people have not put any critical thinking into this sort of speaking point. Because there are a few things, right? An argument I've seen come up a few times is someone being like, well, what if they got Mulan and cast a white person? Then you wouldn't be happy. No, you're right. We wouldn't be. Because Mulan, being Chinese, is very, very important to her character. It's set in China. It's about Chinese culture and their family values. It's about their history. She's Chinese. She has to be in order for that story to make sense. And we wouldn't just be upset if you cast a white person to play her. You could cast anyone that isn't Chinese to play her, and we'd have a problem. You can't cast a black person or a Latinx person or a Pacific Islander to play Mulan either. Don't act like this is just a switching out a white person thing. Just as, say, like Black Panther, I've also seen people bring up.
Having a white actor play Black Panther is horribly racist, but it's also horribly racist to complain about a black actor playing The Little Mermaid. But that rule is indefensible and hypocritical in the extreme.
You're not going to get a white person to play him because absolutely not. His black identity is very important to his character. But you're also not going to get an Asian person to play him. You're not going to get a Native American person to play him. It has to be a black person. This isn't just about replacing characters with white people. This is about their identity and their ethnicity being so linked. But then you have situations like Ariel, where her race and ethnicity have literally nothing to do with the story at all. Like, if you think about it a little bit, Sebastian, isn't he Jamaican? Pretty sure he's Jamaican, right? And so if we're gonna say it's in that area, then surely it would make more sense if Ariel was black. Just a tiny little thought there. Ariel could be any race. She could be European, she could be South American, she could be African, she could be South Indian, she could be a Pacific Islander, she could be wherever, and it literally doesn't impact her story at all. Ariel's race and ethnicity has absolutely nothing to do with the story. Like, at all. It doesn't impact her. There's no, like, significant cultural or historical significance in her story that directly relate to origin and ethnicity and race. So she can literally be played by anyone without it making a difference, unlike those characters that I mentioned before. So why don't you, cishet white man who has never once ever been denied of representation in his life ever, sit down and shut up and let people have just a tiny piece of what you have had your entire life, all right? Sorry to interrupt myself there. I just realized I forgot to say that, and I wanted to, so back into it. And then so you get people taking that and being like, okay, so what if you got a character of color from like a fictional work and their race or ethnicity is not a significant part of their character? Could we then switch them into being a white person? Why are you still mad about that? Why is that still a problem? And the problem with that there lies, that is just getting rid of representation. There is already a lack of representation within the media. There are already way more white characters than there are anything else. So if you're getting a fictional work that has like 6 characters in it and 2 of them are people of color and you've recast one of them as a white person, that's a problem because you're erasing the very little representation that already exists there. It's a problem because although their race isn't important, you're still removing it for another white person, which is not only taking a bit of representation away, but it's also taking away a job from a person of color whom already struggle to get acting roles because of how white the stories we tell are. Yeah? There's always so many of these talking points, such as like Matt Walsh, for example, whose video I watched when I was writing this script, who say things like, I don't care what the race of a fictional character is. I don't care that Ariel's black. But at the same time, I also don't care when this black character was played by a white person. I don't care. They're fictional characters.
And if they can complain about black erasure, then why can't we complain about white erasure? Any kind of erasure on racial grounds sounds bad to me.
Anyone can do it. Just hire the best person for the job. Back in the day, like in the 90s, nobody cared. This representation thing didn't matter. No one was asking for more representation or getting mad about the recasting of races, etc., etc. But like, that's just not true. It's always been a problem. People just didn't have the power to speak up, nor were they listened to. There were other things going on that made that a really difficult fight to fight. You have to fight to get to the place to be able to make your next fight, right? Hollywood was even more white back then. It was so difficult for people of color to even be able to break into that industry. It still is. But it's a lot easier now than it was then. You take one issue at a time. You can't fight all your fights at one time. So many people like to sit and say that, like, you know, representation's not that important. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't really matter. But like, it really, really does. If you don't see yourself in the media, you feel less than. You feel different. It feels very isolating. It's a cause of things like bullying and depression and self-doubt and wanting to change yourself, because if you don't see yourself in the media, you don't think you're normal, and the other people around you don't see you in the media, they don't think you're normal. And that's a really isolating feeling. And that's gotta be really fucking hard. And there is such little representation in major franchises and mainstream media for people of color. You look at how many Disney princesses there are, right? How many of them are of color? Very, very few. And of those few, less of them are black. Less of them are Asian. Less of them are Pacific Islanders. There is very, very little representation for them. And for some reason, people like to think that like one person of color is representation for like every single race and ethnicity. That's just not true at all. You could have 50% of your characters be people of color and 50% be white. Your white representation is still way, way higher because there are so many other races and ethnicities than white. You know, like, and people say like, why don't you just make your own princess for them to get their representation? Why do they have to take our princess? I agree. They should be making more princesses and they should be having more diversity among newer characters. Absolutely. However, I also think it's really cool to take an iconic character from our childhoods and then add representation there, because they are characters that everybody knows, that these young people have grown up with and love and adore. And seeing that become more inclusive is powerful in and of itself. Having that story that you already connected to connect to you on a deeper level and become something more special to you, there's something really cool about that. And it literally doesn't affect anyone negatively. It doesn't have a negative impact. It does, however, have a positive impact. I was going through the TikTok reactions to the trailer yesterday, and I like literally was just like sobbing. These made me cry so much. I'm gonna play a couple of them.
I think she's round. Round, Ariel. Round Ariel is cute.
Watching these young girls see like a black Ariel and just like lighting up is so, so beautiful. It's so lovely, and it's exactly why it's important. And you see the people being like, the race doesn't matter, kids don't care. And it's like, yeah, no, you're right. Young white kids don't care. They don't notice. They just see Ariel, right? And that is how young black kids also see Ariel, typically. But seeing a black Ariel makes them feel seen and as though they can also be a part of things which they have been excluded from for a really long time. And it's just really cool to see. And I'm really, really glad that people are able to get more representation and are able to see themselves more in the media and feel more a part of something that other people have felt a part of for a really, really long time.
Watching the trailer, I'm dressed like this. I'm shaking already. Okay. Oh my god. Why am I so emotional? I literally don't cry this much, I swear. Stop. I'm crying. Shut up. Shut up. I'm crying. Yeah, I can see. I'm dying. That's so cute. I'm so excited. I can't hold it in. I know. That's so exciting. Don't cry. Monica's crying. You can't see her, but she's gonna start crying. Because you're so cute. You know. Like, I'm literally dressed like her.
A lot of people like to argue that, you know, Disney's just doing it for publicity. They're doing it so they don't get under attack for not having representation. Da 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 da. Yeah, okay, maybe they are. It's a big possibility. A lot of shit is done just for publicity, even if it doesn't reflect the actual ethics of the company. However, I don't always think that's a bad thing. Because sometimes action is more important than intention. Because regardless of the intention behind it, it's still happening and it is still going to make a positive impact on people's lives. I don't know if that's a popular take to have, but that is the take that I have. Performative activism, not great. When it comes from everyday people, it's really unhelpful. But when like such big, massive corporations and stuff do performative activism, it still kind of acts as actual activism, which is kind of frustrating, but also really good. The action helps way more than the intention harms, you know? So I think it's a great thing. And I'm really, really excited to watch this movie. It looks incredible. She looks beautiful and her voice is stunning. And I'm just really excited to see what they do with the story. I have had really mixed feelings about all the Disney remakes. Like some of them are incredible and then a couple of them are like not so good. So I'm excited to see what they do to Ariel and how the story looks because as I said, The Little Mermaid is a big part of my being. The ocean has been the love of my life for my entire life. And yeah, I'm excited to see it. I hope this video made sense. I kind of went really rambly. I am exhausted at the moment, so half of what I'm saying is just like not registering in my brain, but I hope that it made sense. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons whose names are up on the screen right now. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons. Wolf, Toulouse, Bobby, Sparrow, Josh, Robbie, Silly, Robin, The Alienated Librarian, Rosendo, and Akita. I love and appreciate you all so, so much. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like to become a patron, you can join at patreon.com/savvycat for as little as £1 a month. You get my videos a day early and then more as you move up the tiers. I've just started my podcast with Kat back up over on Savvy Cat Productions channel if you want to go check that out. Follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. Subscribe to my second channel, Kiwi with a Q. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. That's not what I was gonna say. I don't know what I was gonna say, actually. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah.